Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we discuss what's happening in the cryptosphere and trading on Earth as it is in heaven. Buckle up and huddle on while we dive in and get weird. Here are your hosts, Joshua and Kim.
Hello. Welcome to what would normally be a Thursday episode, but we're recording on Wednesday for some personal reasons. But welcome to the show. Today I think we have a fun conversation, but we're just going to have a conversation. So it might be really in-depth, might be really serious, might be really great nuggets, might be kind of boring. Who knows? We'll find out.
It'll be such a reflection of actually being friends with us.
That's true. Yeah. We are just normal people who love to talk about crypto, who love to talk about all things related to Yahweh and our faith walks and our normal lives. So you guys get a really good insight into just who we are.
This is so true. We do have applications for being our friends on the website. Just
That's
kidding,
true.
we don't.
Really, it just means you send us a message and we're your friends. That's true. Well, before we get into today's episode, let's run through some market updates. So we have Bitcoin basically flat. It's up 0.2% over 24 hours, up 4% over 7 days, currently trading at 17,353. We have Ethereum is also basically flat. It's down 0.5, half of a percent over 24 hours, still up 9% over 7 days, currently trading at 1,325. It's pretty significant that Ethereum is over the 1,300 mark and Bitcoin over the 1,700 mark because they've really fought those numbers for a while. So I'm grateful to see both of them with some stability over that. You have the Flare coin is the top mover in the top 100. It is a really new coin. And sometimes really new coins are extremely volatile. And we see that with this coin. So it's currently the number 59 coin by market cap. Its symbol is FLR if you're interested in looking it up. It is up 40% over 24 hours. And I don't have a 7-day number for you because it's not 7 days old yet.
It's not even 48 hours old.
That's
Maybe
true.
It will be by the time this episode gets posted, but at the time of recording on Wednesday morning, it is not even 48 hours old, which also is remarkable that it is the number 59 coin by market cap and not even being tradable for 48 hours.
Yeah, it's super. That doesn't happen very often that a coin really moves that quickly. But its trading volume in the past 24 hours is 71 million. So it's a pretty substantial trading volume for a brand new coin.
Although you see that with coins like this. So this is a coin that has been airdropped to XRP holders. So since it was dropped to people, they didn't have to buy it initially. They just get it and then they trade it, which probably adds to its trading volume, right? People are getting it and then there's a demand or not a demand and all the things.
And I remember hearing about this coin a while ago. So I think it's been under development. There's been marketing around it. And so, yeah, potentially that's why it's so popular. But
agreed. There was anticipation upon its release. And it was given out for free.
It was given out for free. It's hard to beat free.
That's a marketing plan if I ever heard one.
That sounds a bit like a Ponzi scheme. Not calling this coin a Ponzi scheme, by the way. It may be wildly successful. I'm just saying, oftentimes when something seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true, which kind of plays right into the conversation we wanted to have today, because one of the things we were doing before the show was looking through different articles of crypto news and just sometimes, we want to dig in a little bit more to that stuff and bring some more news for crypto on our Thursday episodes, and the majority of the news was kind of crap. Like it was like this new coin's doing this and this new coin's doing the opposite, and talking about these exchanges that have been failing and just some of the weird stuff involved with crypto. And it just got us talking like, man, there's really been a separation within crypto.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this for a while. We've talked about kind of the importance of that because Bitcoin has everything is called a cryptocurrency, but not everything has the intent or created purpose of actually being a currency, but everything gets lumped into the same box.
Right.
So you have Bitcoin that could legitimately be a currency, is an acceptable currency in several different countries and places. Um, and then you have coins like Dogecoin and Shibu that are purely memes and just made for fun, and they really shouldn't be grouped in the same category. They're both built on blockchain, yes, that's true, but they function wildly differently.
Mhm.
And then you have these exchanges, and you have centralized exchanges like Coinbase and Binance, and you have decentralized exchanges like PancakeSwap and Uniswap. And it's really fascinating to see how kind of everything gets lumped into the same box. But what Kim and I noticed today while we were looking through articles is there really is starting to be like clear
Definitions.
definition in them. And I think that's a good thing.
Mhm. I I will say this is what I was thinking is when I was looking through a bunch of these articles, there are some of them I just don't care about anymore. And
Mm,
it's a change from a year ago. I mean, we did plenty of episodes on the development of NFTs, the excitement around the technology of shifting that way. I mean, like you think about record labels going to NFTs. Artists are actually getting paid a decent amount for their music that they're producing. They have more control about the release of it, and
mm,
you wind up with the music you want, right?
mhm.
Which is great. Um, but I see so many articles about NFTs, and I just am like over it a little bit. I was telling Josh that before we even started meeting, I was looking at some articles, and there was one about this new NFT that's just blowing up, and it is like a foot fetish one. And it's feet made out of like it's pixelated animation, not it's not even animated, pixelated graphic art. So pixels of color
Mm.
bunched together and not in a very clear way of like cartoon feet.
Yeah.
And they're going crazy. And I just don't get it. And maybe it's a reflection of, I don't know where I am in my life or something,
Mm.
but those are the kinds of articles I'm just like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
this is not what I'm seeing for like the advancement of the cryptosphere and seeing
Mm.
it help to pave a new way for a new financial system is like foot fetish graphics being sold.
Well, and I think that that's why the separation or the definition is beneficial is
Yeah,
because currently all of that gets lumped in the same box.
right.
And that really dilutes the value of cryptocurrency. If you Google cryptocurrency news and all you see are these articles about foot fetish NFTs and um, the meme coins and things like that, it dilutes the value of the rest of them.
Right.
And and maybe to some degree that's intentional. Um, but I also think like the definition that it's sort of creating is a really good thing because there are really good projects. There are really good NFTs. I know teachers that I respect who've been releasing their books as NFTs, um, just as a like preliminary fundraising type thing, and it's great and it's cool to see things like that. And so you really have to we talk about this a lot as being people who are pursuing these things, like, you kinda have to be able to hold 2 things in your hand at the same time.
Mhm.
Can you hold the really great, valuable NFTs, and can you hold the absolute crap NFTs in your hand at the same time and say both of these exist, they both serve some sort of purpose, but where's your value? And can you separate the 2 of them? Can you hold them as a whole unit, but separate the good from the less beneficial, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing.
Mm.
One of the other things that we came across today was yet another article about FTX and the bankruptcy proceedings that are happening with that. They had recovered, I don't know, 7 billion was the
Yeah,
number,
5 to 7, something like that.
uh, dollars in, I don't know, in what they're going through with this bankruptcy. And it's it's an interesting thing because I also saw another article that was saying, oh, here are some really big names who are associated with FTX as creditors as well. And this has just come out, like well-known investors, well-known pop culture people,
Mhm.
things like that. We also know that there have been rumblings about connections with one of the major political parties in the US. I'm not even mentioning who it is because I don't want to get into some divisive thing about politics because I'm not down with that. But then we were just talking about, gosh, this feels like a game.
Mhm.
Like the whole thing with FTX, how it was set up, um, how, gosh, I don't know how it was set up, how it kind of fell, how there was one person who was made the fall guy, all of these other players involved. It feels like it was a bit orchestrated and like planned out. And like we're just involved in playing some other game that we all never signed up for.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit with FTX because that was a really tough one because it had every appearance of being legitimate.
Yeah. It was what? The
I mean,
number 2 exchange globally by market
mhm,
cap.
yeah. And then the more disclosure that happens, the more you realize it was kind of like a game to them. Like it was from the beginning not set up with a lot of legitimacy or the normal things you would expect to see from a legitimate company. It
Mhm.
was set up very much like uh I don't it was set up very much like a game. Like there was a lot of things about it that were just behind the scenes that we're seeing now not super legitimate.
Right.
But that's tough because they did have political parties talking about them. They did have celebrities and pop culture figures endorsing them. They did have ads during the Super Bowl. Like they had the appearance. And I would say to some degree, um, I don't know if their intent was ever to become the second largest, and maybe that forced them to try and create some legitimacy. And maybe they thought they could create enough legitimacy to never fail. That's certainly possible. But I do think that at its root, it was not founded to be that way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
Agreed. In some of our preliminary talks about this, um, I mean, there were some comparisons made to Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, all the different kinds of schemes that we could
Mm.
possibly come up with to talk about. But I mean, there are some similarities in, let's say, how FTX was run, but then also in other things too.
Mhm.
As we were talking about this, Josh, you might want to give the definition that you got. He started watching a series on Ponzi schemes.
Yeah, I was watching. a series on Netflix about Ponzi schemes, and they said at its simplest definition, a Ponzi scheme can be described as taking Paul's money to pay Peter, and it requires constant new money because in order to make it look like people are making more money, you have to redistribute the money um, more higher and higher. But if you're doing that digitally and it's just ones and zeros on a computer, then the money doesn't actually ever have to go to them. And that's one of the things they were finding with FTX was the money was all going into a pool where it made it really hard to track where it came from and where it was going. There was no allocation with it. And so on your computer, you might log into your account and say, oh, my account's up 10% today. But is the money actually there? Can you withdraw the money? And, that got us into a conversation. We were talking about Ponzi schemes and all these things, and that got us into a conversation with fractional reserve banking and how, you put your money into a bank and you see a balance when you log into your account. But if you were to go and withdraw your money, may or may not be possible to
Right.
do that
They may
because
or may not actually have those reserves on hand that you
yeah,
deposited there with the guarantee that you would have access to this money.
yeah. And that's it's created instead of banks being stewards of your wealth, it's created banks as being businesses. And I think you see the same thing in crypto exchanges, especially centralized exchanges.
Oh, yeah.
They also function on a fractional reserve platform. And so what really, I mean that was what caused the downfall with FTX is they had I don't remember what it was, 34 billion or something invested in their platform and people started withdrawing their money and all of a sudden they don't have the money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get into liquidity issues and they have to start borrowing money and it gets really messy really quickly. But I think that that's just part of Kim and I's heart in seeing changes in the financial system is making it less like a game,
Yeah.
making it more like true stewardship and helping people become sovereign over their lives and over their wealth so that you're making educated, wise decisions with how your money is stored and used.
Agree. And part of that, I think, is getting away from having those multiple hands that a currency or something of value has to pass through before it gets to the final destination. I
Mm,
think one of the things is, especially like with Bitcoin, one of the big appeals is that it's meant to be peer to peer, right? So I say this Bitcoin holds this much value, and I'll exchange it with you, Josh, for the thing that you have that I also think is valuable. And the
mm,
values are about equal. And so we make that exchange. That's really what it is. And it kind of goes back to a little bit what we talked about on Monday and recognizing value in people around us and things around us. And then now we're talking about exchanging value as opposed to simply um, kind of this monopoly money that we kind of been playing with. You know what I mean? Like, do we actually have the money, or is it just fake printed pink, yellow, and green money that we're holding in our hand that isn't actually worth something
right.
because it has to go through so many different places? And again, like my bank account may say I hold this much value, but if I were to, I'm actually right behind me is my bank. Like the next building over. If I were to just walk in there and say, I want all my money out, would they actually be holding enough on hand to be able to give that to me? Or would they tell me no? And then it makes me really question, what is the point of this bank?
Mm,
Aren't they supposed to be serving me, not me serving them? And it's a very interesting, it's an interesting paradigm we're in. And I think just like you were talking about, I kind of got off on a tangent, but I really think that kind of what we're called to do and the reason we're doing this podcast and where we really want to see things going is toward a system that kind of takes out that ability for, I don't know that I want to say corruption. It just makes it a bit more pure.
Mm.
You know, I want to be able to exchange value with people as needed, you know, and sometimes without having to jump through all the hoops and over the hurdles and all those things.
Yeah. One of the things we talk a lot about with crypto is who holds your money and where it's stored, and do you actually have the keys to it? Are you actually in charge of your crypto? Um, and if you hold it in a centralized exchange, I hate to break it to you, but you're not.
Right.
You're entrusting the stewardship of that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely reasons and seasons where that is acceptable and probably the right decision.
Oh, for sure.
And there may be times when it's not. And so, like we say all the time, do your own research, really dig into this and figure out what's going on. And you really seek Yahweh in how should your money best be stored, and so that you're not just participating in a game, unless you're supposed to be playing the game. And
Right.
that's possible. I'm not saying that it's all corrupt and horrible. I just want you to be aware of what's going on so that you can make an educated decision.
Mm-hmm. If you're supposed to be in the game, at least know you're in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Don't just
Yeah,
be subject to the game without having any idea that you're even in it.
exactly.
That's what I would say. Use wisdom, use good judgment, trust in the relationship you have with the Lord and allow him to lead you in those things. And maybe he says, yeah, play that game.
Hmm.
And by all means, do it.
Yeah.
But again, awareness is important in some of these things. Like what's actually happening with the things that holds the value that some of the value that you have,
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We will see you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening. Join us every Monday and Thursday as we discuss trading on earth as it is in heaven. If you want to connect further, follow us on social media at market.mystics for Instagram and TikTok, and search for Market Mystics on YouTube and Facebook. If you still need more, follow the link on Facebook to book a coaching appointment. Until next time, see ya.